I pulled up in front of St. Hubert's High School for Girls just as the final bell rang. Girls in plaid skirts, hiked up higher than the nuns liked, flooded from the double doors. Tabby came out, jumped into my car, and put her tongue in my mouth before I could say hello. This elicited a few stares as I was 36 years old. I pulled away from her. "People are staring," I said. She flicked her green eyes like the flashing emeralds in slot machines. "Fuck them," she said. "I'm 18. Still," she huffed. "Just go." I drove away. My muscles ached and there was an ominous bubbling in my stomach. I swallowed half a pill this morning before work, but that only staved off the symptoms for so long. "You got them." She produced a pill bottle filled with 30mg Percocet and shook out my half into a sandwich bag. Tabby pocketed more than she let on, but I let it slide. I paid for them, but she put in the long nights to get us the discount. "Can I stay over?" she asked. "My dad tossed my room again last night." According to Tabby, her father would routinely tear apart rooms in their house, convinced she had drugs stashed in one of them. She kept her pills in a hollowed-out textbook buried in her locker. "You know you don't have to ask," I lied. It was an unspoken rule of ours. Sometimes I'd have work friends over, and I didn't need anyone in my professional circle knowing I was shacked up with high school girl. Her hand moved to my thigh, then farther. My dad kicked me out again. I chewed 2 of the little blue pills, savored the chalky taste. I felt good, then even better once Tabby put her hand down my pants. I cut a left onto I-95 and headed southbound towards Center City as the pills worked their magic. "Let's both take off tomorrow. Enjoy the day. I have an exam." "So?" She smirked and bent down toward my lap. We had nodded off on my deck, 30 floors up in the residential apartments at the Ritz overlooking downtown Philly. Her cell phone went off. It was nearly 10 o'clock. I nudged her awake. Blue snot was crusted around her nostril. She waved me off and started nodding out again. I shook her harder when I saw who was calling. "Wake up, it's him." She snapped awake and grabbed the phone. "Hey," she answered. I heard his voice muffled in her ear. Tabby's eyes shot open. "I'll be over," she said and hung up. "What?" I asked. "He's going to be under investigation. He has time to write us one last script." Those words sunk in. She lit a cigarette. "We might as well go now." She snorted one for the road, then one more once we arrived at the doctor's townhome in Old City. I didn't blame her. I waited in the car. One more script, I thought. I lost my job a month later, something I once considered unthinkable. I excelled in a specific niche in finance, and it paid well. In retrospect, I should have saw it coming, what with all the time I'd missed. It was the pills. Not doing them, just seeking them out. Tabby and I tore through our last script in less than a week. I was more than productive while high. In fact, once I chewed a few pills, I was more productive than ever. But keeping ourselves supplied proved difficult. Between us, we were doing 10:30s a day, around $250 without the doctor's discount. My money began to run low. I applied for unemployment benefits, a pittance that barely covered 2 days' worth of pills. Right before I lost my apartment, it dawned on me that Tabby was a liability. I was still buying all the pills, but she couldn't find a discount. All she did, being the more experienced junkie, was approach the dealers in the bad neighborhoods while I waited safely in the car. I was apprehensive about talking to the sellers myself until I noticed I didn't stick out. Men just like me, white, well-dressed, professional, came and went from the corners, unmolested. Money was tight. Why should she get half my pills? A solution presented itself 2 days after Tabby stopped attending school. It was early and we were headed to the corners. She claimed to be as sick as I was, but she wouldn't shut up. She kept on chattering. "We can keep going for another couple months, then we'll clean up, you know, and I'll finish high school, then go to college and we can get a cute little house." Fucking bitch was high. As usual, I parked down the block. She took the money and went to the corner. She wore a small pair of shorts, showing off her ass to the corner boys, hoping to get a discount. I saw the first car from the corner of my eye, a nondescript sedan, then another inching into the intersection behind me, one more, up by the train station, creeping down the block. "Oh boy," I said. I grinned. I couldn't help it. Tabby had just handed over our money when the undercovers pounced. The younger dealers took off. The older ones knew running wasn't worth the hassle. They just put their hands behind their heads and did what the cops asked. Tabby was about to run back to me, those pretty emerald eyes wide with fear, pills in her hand, right before a female officer bulldogged her to the concrete. Philly's finest had just saved me a lot of money. Sure, I lost a few hundred with Tabby's arrest, but I'd make out in the long run, an acceptable loss. I stepped out of my car, lit another cigarette, and strolled a few blocks down. I found some 30s for sale within minutes. Tabby called me right after her arrest, probably looking for me to bail her out. I never answered. Her father could pay for that one. She'd been eating half my pills for months now. I thought I paid enough. I was still in control, working on a freelance basis, not earning as much as before but enough to pay for a small one-bedroom house in a slowly gentrifying enclave not too far from the corners. It paid for my rent and my pills, but not much else. Then one day on the corners, I overheard two hipster addicts talking about cheap 30s. Not just cheap but nearly free. "It's a website called the Underground Economy," one of them said. "It's on the dark web. You can get 30s for $5 a piece, sometimes cheaper than that, even though you might see some weird shit." I made a mental note. After grabbing my pills, I headed back to the apartment to do some research. The Underground Economy could have been mistaken for Craigslist. Bare bones, simple text, links, except the listings were more varied. Mostly drugs, lots of sex. I typed "cheap Percocet" into the search fields. Countless listings appeared on my screen. One caught my eye, too good to be true. "Free opiates, webcam required," it read, but I couldn't help clicking it. My screen went black. A dialog window appeared with a blinking white cursor. Then, remote access activated. Shit. I pounded the escape key to no avail. The light near the built-in webcam flashed. Cold terror rushed through me. Whoever commandeered my laptop was watching me. I shut the laptop and ate another pill. Get a grip, I thought. Just turn the damn thing off before they copy every file on the PC. I hit the power button and tried to keep calm as the laptop powered down. There was no way they could have copied every file already. I didn't keep much sensitive information on the laptop anyway. No bank accounts, no passwords, certainly not my social security number. My cell phone went off. An unknown number. A coincidence, I thought. I received a text message. It read, "We know who you are." "Impossible," I said. Then I remembered the resumes I saved on the laptop. Each one included my phone number, my email, my home address. "Fuck me," I said. Another text. "Turn on your laptop. We need to get a good look at you." I struggled to run through my options. Did I even have any? Soon they would go to work on cracking into my social media profiles, email accounts, and God knows what else. I found myself turning my last pill over in my palm like a lucky charm. A third text. "Don't make us say it again." I did as they told me. A private chat window popped onto the screen. Their window showed only a wall of spackled sheetrock. An empty swivel chair sat at the fore. Then came a female voice with a vaguely Midwestern aw shucks accent. "There we go." She stepped into view. She wore a tight green dress that showed off her legs and breasts. The smattering of freckles on her cleavage, along with some wrinkles, led me to believe she was past 40, maybe closer to 50. She would have looked good, if not for the mask. It was an exaggerated rubber visage of an old woman, decorated with deep crow's feet and a wrinkled frown, gray hair billowing down over the woman's shoulders, thin and brittle. She had applied blue eyeshadow on the mask, and a mess of lipstick over the grimacing mouth. There was only darkness beyond the eye holes. The woman nodded. "Now then, you're a pretty one, aren't ya?" I was too confused to muster a reply. She leaned closer to the screen, pressing her breasts together. "Usually the ones that click our link don't look so great. You, though." She slid her tongue through the mask's mouth hole and licked the rubber lips. "I'm sorry I bothered you," I said, "but I'm not interested anymore." "Ooh, but you will be, honey," she said. I sensed that she was smiling under the mask. "But I won't hold you any longer. Just know that we've already got a sample on its way." "A sample of Percocet?" I asked. "Better than Percocet. Pumpkin. This stuff will really knock your socks off. Contact us after you've tried it." About a week later, I came home from the corners and found a small box at my door. It had no return address, no stamps, not even my name. I remembered the woman in the mask. I opened it carefully, hoping that I'd find a script of 30s inside. No, not Percocet. She said it would be something better. It was a teddy bear, small and fluffy, with big black buttons for eyes and crisscrossing stitches at the crotch, as if someone had castrated it and sealed the wound. I ripped the stitches open. 7 bright red pills fell out, with no numbers or identifiers that you'd usually find. I couldn't take one, obviously, even if the woman claimed it was stronger than my 30s. For all I knew, it could be arsenic. 20 minutes later, I swallowed one. To say I was stoned wouldn't have done the pill justice. A normal Percocet would hit its peak with a crisp endorphin rush. Most of the time, the rush only lasted a half hour or so before fading to a low-key hum. Not with the red pill. I didn't nod out or feel sluggish. Instead, I remained at the peak. It rippled through my skin, my hair, my eyes, inside my veins. I turned on the laptop. The woman in the mask appeared. "So?" she asked. "Amazing," I said. "Absolutely amazing." She clapped her hands. "Ah, we're glad you enjoy it." There were many questions I could have asked. Was the pill a designer drug like ecstasy, or a new opiate I hadn't heard about? Why weren't there any identifiers on the pill? How many could I take before I'd have to worry about overdosing? "How do I get more?" I asked. The woman in the mask uncrossed her legs and ran her fingers up her thighs. It would have been appealing if not for the mask. "Now we watch you," she said. "Watch me do what?" A thin, shirtless man stepped into view. He wore a bear mask, but unlike that of the woman, it was taxidermied, like a head you'd see on a mount. The woman circled her fingernails around her cleavage. "You're going to play with yourself," she said as the man began massaging her shoulders. "And you're not going to stop until we tell you." That first month came and went. They watched and I did what I was told and I got my pills. Their requests were sometimes bizarre. I clipped my toenails while naked, or cradled a doll and pretended to breastfeed it. Once they made me turn the camera toward the kitchen while I made a steak dinner, then defiled the plate when it was finished. I shuddered at just one request, the one requiring the cheese grater. The pills made everything palatable, but not that. When I told the woman no, she chuckled. "I guess that's all for you. I hope you won't miss our goodies too much, fella." She reached to turn off the chat box. I dropped to my knees. "Please no," I begged. "I need them, please." "You need them, do you now?" Her eyes shifted to the cheese grater sitting on my bed. Afterward, I got an infection. They sent me antibiotics with my next delivery. I settled into a routine. The mornings were for freelance IT work I found online. Afternoons were for the woman and the man, sometimes just a half an hour, other times marathon sessions that lasted until dinner. I cleaned in the evenings. The toys always needed a good scrubbing, plus the tarps I'd put on my bed. Tarps were a must, otherwise I would have ruined my bedding. I almost never left the house. I didn't need to. The pills came to me. They did things to each other while watching me. The woman might lash the man's back with a belt or rake his chest with rusted nails. Once, the man choked her until she lost consciousness, though she still managed to orgasm just before blacking out. I tried not to watch. One day they issued me a new request. "Honey, you know we enjoy the heck out of watching you," the woman said. "And gosh darn it, you do put on one heck of a show, but you look a little lonely." I wasn't lonely. I had the pills. "You should find yourself a partner," she said. That wasn't a problem. You could find more than just drugs on those corners. I didn't say this, but something in my face must have given me up. The woman put her hands on her hips. "And if you find yourself thinking about employing any ladies of the night," she said, "we're going to have a problem." "No," I said. "I wasn't even thinking about." "Don't lie to me, honey." I thought of the pills, how much I needed them. Sorry, I might know someone. But I didn't want to share my pills. I couldn't. I needed them all. Again, the woman must have read my face. "Oh, sugar," she said. Don't worry about your supply. If you need more for this gal of yours, we're happy to oblige. Tabby wouldn't answer my phone calls, so I pulled up at St. Hubert's after the final bell. She walked out with her school bag over her shoulder, a cigarette tucked between her lips. Gone were the dark bags under her eyes, along with their glossed opioid coat. She was back to a healthy weight too. I followed her in my car for 2 blocks as she walked to her bus stop. Part of me wanted to leave her be, but then I thought of the pills. "Leave me alone," she said when I pulled up next to her. "I've been sober for a month." I told her about my new pills. She didn't believe me until I gave her a sample. Afterward, she came back to my house. I didn't tell her about the webcam. She didn't need to know until it was time. Later, she lay on my bed with her head hanging over the edge, vomiting on the floor. That month of sobriety must have lowered her tolerance. I held her hair behind her head to avoid the splatter. I wiped her mouth with a cool rag. She vomited again. "I've never felt so amazing," she said. "I want more." "I can get it." "How?" She looked at my shelves, cluttered with toys, machines, then to the laptop, sitting expectantly on my desk. "I'll do it," she said. Another month passed. We were in the middle of a show. "You two are so cute together," the woman said. "Thank you," I said, hurting, panting. Tabby grunted, unable to speak due to the ball gag. The woman and the man provided enough pills, both of us. They sent food. The woman noted that we had lost too much weight since the arrangement began, and even money sometimes. At night, Tabby and I would lay in bed, exhausted, wounded, high. She asked if we could live this way forever. "Would you want to?" I asked. She hadn't been to school or spoken to her family in a month. "Yes," she said. We slept, but later the chat alert on my laptop awoke me. The woman was alone. I didn't see the man in the bear mask for a few days, but he often disappeared. I assumed he was the one who delivered the pills. We were due for a new batch, and we always got a resupply just as we were down to our last pill. "Good evening." I yawned and reached for the cheese grater. When she called at night, it was usually because she wanted me to use the cheese grater. "No, not that," the woman said. She tapped her chin. With each tap, the crone's mask wobbled. "I guess there's no other way to say it. Boy, I've grown bored with you." "The pills," I thought. "You can't take my pills away," I said. "I'll do anything you want, something different, anything." "Don't mess your pants. I ain't cutting you loose as long as you keep doing what I say." "Anything." "You say that," she said. "But first I need to put you through a little test, just to be sure." "Whatever you want," I said. "It's gonna hurt," she said. The woman had requested many painful acts, but never with a warning. That she'd do so now terrified me, and yet I was willing. Anything for the pills. She sighed. "Well, go on and wake your girlfriend." "Right away," I said. "You two are probably down to what, 1 or 2 pills each?" I swallowed hard. 1 each, I believe. "Better take 'em now, the both of you." The weight of her request hung over us as she went on about it. She wanted it done sometime during our act, but I didn't catch the details. My ears were ringing, my entire body was numb. The pill I just swallowed did little to assuage my horror. I'm proud that I said no. Tabby just sat there, knees to her chest, silent. "Everyone says no at first," the woman said, "so we'll just have to give it some time." "I won't do it," I said, but even then, I was thinking of the pills. "We'll see," the woman said. "No more pills until you agree to do it." The withdrawal was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Within a few hours, the aches set in like tooth infections in our bones. Sweat, vomit. We took turns on the toilet when the diarrhea started. We used bucket as a backup. Nothing helped. 30s didn't work. Neither did heroin. Methadone was ineffective. We couldn't think of eating. Sleep was impossible. Constant agony every minute of it. The monstrous nature of the woman's request became insignificant. In the withdrawal's clutches, nothing mattered except relief. We tried contacting the woman. She wouldn't answer our chat requests. We feared that it might go on forever. 30 hours. Unthinkable. When the woman finally contacted us, Tabby and I agreed to do whatever she wanted. To kill whoever she wanted. "Who?" I asked her. The woman waved me off as she wrote a text message on her cell phone. "Don't worry about that now, child. Your medicine should be showing up right about now." A knock came to the door. We scrambled to answer it. The man in the bear mask stood at our front step. He opened his hand and offered us each a pill. We took it gratefully, dry swallowing them. We paid no mind to the large pipe wrench the man held over his shoulder. "Thank you," I sobbed. "So much, really," Tabby added. The man ignored us. He walked into the house, went to the laptop, and nodded to the woman. But something was off. Why only 2 pills? I thought I knew why, but hoped I was wrong. "Come now, children," the woman shouted. I was about to lock the front door. "Don't bother, boy," the woman said. "Quickly now, you two need to get to work." Tabby stepped toward the laptop. "Do you mind if I shower first?" The woman laughed. "Not feeling so fresh down there, are ya?" Tabby blushed and shook her head. "We've been sick." "You're fine," the woman said. Then, harsher, "Now bend over and let your boyfriend get to work." The woman was typing text messages on her phone, barely watching as Tabby and I suffered each other's foulness. Even as we did things to each other we'd never thought of before, anything to please her, and hopefully to get her to forget her murderous request. The man pulled a long rope from his back pocket, shoved me aside, then hog-tied Tabby's arms and legs behind her back. When he finished, he threw me back on top of Tabby while the woman tinkered with her keyboard. The man hardly watched us as well. He was busy cleaning dust off the pipe wrench. The woman was studying something on her laptop screen when she called for us to stop. "Water break," she said. She typed some more on her keyboard, then tinkered with her phone again. "Get yourselves rested up for a bit." I went to the kitchen, gulped tap water straight from the spigot, too thirsty to fill a glass. We had to move quickly during our breaks. The woman never gave us too long. I was lighting a cigarette when I saw that Tabby hadn't followed me to the kitchen. She was still in bed, no longer hog-tied but too weak to move. I brought her water. She choked when she drank it, but finished the glass. We heard the woman's phone go off over the laptop speakers. She checked it, then clapped her hands. "Okay then," the woman said. She peeled off her dress, her bra, her panties, naked except for the crone's visage. The man did the same. His erection bobbed over his jeans as he slid them off. "Back to it," the woman said. "And this time, I have a new request." I tried not to show my displeasure when she made her demand, and it was through sheer luck that she hadn't picked up on my dismay. Tabby whimpered, then rolled over and took her position. As I reached for some lubricant, I leaned into Tabby's ear. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "What's that?" the woman yelled. I held up the lubricant. "I didn't tell you to use that," she said. "Just get it over with," Tabby told me. So I did, and still the woman wasn't paying attention. She was still watching her phone. Then she leaned toward the screen, close, eager. Then she smiled. Someone kicked my door open. I thought it was a ghost, a specter of a frail man, his face pale and bloodless, hair the color of storm clouds. The veins bulged up his forearms as he balled his fists. Tabby's father. Who else? The woman must have recorded us, then sent the footage to him. He looked at his daughter in horror. She was lying belly down, naked, and raised her eyes to him with a look that showed neither surprise nor shame. "Get him," the woman cried, shouted. "Now." The first time I took a Percocet had been over 6 years ago. A doctor prescribed them when I tore a muscle in my back after falling down some stairs. Funny, because I didn't even finish the script. That first pill made me sick. I stuffed the pill bottle in the medicine cabinet and forgot about it, thinking, who in their right mind could ever get addicted to this stuff? Back then, I didn't understand what was in a junkie's heart, and never thought I would. Tabby's father bounded over the mattress and struck me in the jaw, rattling my teeth. I barely felt it, barely felt anything. Not his knee smashing into my abdomen, not his uppercut that mostly caught me in the throat, except for my fear. The woman continued to scream at me over the laptop, her every word sounding the same. Each said, withdrawal. I would rather die than feel it again. As Tabby's father wrapped his hands around my throat, I tried to tell him that I was sorry. The man in the bear mask set his pipe wrench on the floor next to me. I took it. Despite the river of blood spilling from my mouth and the teeth rushing like broken branches over a waterfall, I drove the wrench into her father's groin. He dropped to the floor upon impact. "Sorry," I cried as I struck him in the back. "Sorry," I repeated, this time with a blow to his neck. "Sorry," I said as I cracked his skull open. Tabby put her hand on mine. "Stop," she said, and peeled my fingers from the wrench. As she pried the weapon from my hands, I found I was unable to stop her. What could I do? Turn the wrench on the girl? I'd already ruined her, left her helpless to the specter that would forever stand over our shoulders now. I gave up the wrench and thought, I'll kill myself before the withdrawal sets in. It was the only way now that Tabby had stopped me. She studied the blood dripping from the wrench, the clumps of her father's hair sticking to the steel. She looked down at him with expressionless eyes. "It can't just be you," she said, then kissed me. Her lips were soft. Tabby swung the wrench down on her father's face.